army that had spent more time on the parade ground than on the battlefield, commanded by a dear old gentleman whose last taste of action was Waterloo 40 years before. This force, incredibly, due to the heroism of the common soldier, won 3 battles against huge odds. But the cost, and those blundering generals. I know this much. If any woman had managed her kitchen the way our generals managed that campaign, she and her entire family would have been reduced to the poorhouse in weeks. As it was, the British Army was reduced to a regiment of living skeletons, dressed in rags, crawling with vermin, and if they were wounded or got sick, worse was waiting. A death house in the shape of the military hospital at Scutari. The casualties mounted and the death rate soared. Thousands died of disease and neglect. But the soldiers were writing home, and the London Times sent out its best reporter. Before long, the appalling truth was known in every English parlour. Only then did we begin to understand the full horror of what our men were going through.
Listen to this. It is with feelings of anger and surprise that the public will learn that no preparations have been made to care for our wounded in the Crimea. Not only are there not sufficient surgeons, there's not even linen to make bandages. Arriving at the hospital, they lie in their own waste, covered by a single blanket, eating meat, raw, stiff with salt, or rotten with maggots.
Not over breakfast, dear, please.
Let me see. Excuse me, Mother. At last, I knew what I must do. All my training could now be put to use. But I needed an ally. So I wrote to my dear old friend, Sidney Herbert, now a powerful member of the War Cabinet. As it happened, a letter from him crossed with mine in the post.
Dear Miss Nightingale, I have recently been receiving letters from ladies offering to go out to the Crimea and give medical care to our injured troops. I know of only one person in England capable of organizing and directing such a scheme. Yourself. I suggest that you start interviewing likely candidates as soon as possible.
Well, I wrote back immediately. Dear Mr. Herbert, I've already begun. Which was only partly untrue. I started the next day, only to discover that while many called themselves nurses, few were fit to be chosen. And why do you feel yourself qualified?
Well, when I read about it in the newspapers, I cried buckets. And buckets. And buckets.
Well, I just thought of those poor, poor boys. How they must miss a woman's touch.
Pardon?
Well, I never did mind hard work, and I'm not easily shocked. I just do my best and carry on.
Well, I won't deny that the money will come in useful. I take it we do get paid. Good. How much?
How old? Just turned 17, I think.
It's me back. And me knees. They're not what they used to be, you know.
At our convent in Bermondsey, we see every kind of disease and deformity.
You're a Catholic order, I believe.
We make it our business to save the body first. Then, and only then, do we attend to the soul. If that's what concerns you.
We leave in a week. How many can you bring?
Place for a woman, it's only a place for a man. This foe we fight from morn till night and beat him when we can. So don't come here to interfere with the British battle plan. War ain't no place for a woman, it's only a place for a man. Right here, it's only a place for a man.
If war's no place for a woman, it's hardly a place for a man. We'll ride the wave and try to save as many as we can. We're Nightingale and nurses. You'll thank us and not curse us. We'll rescue you from pain and fear. We'll bring you comfort and good cheer. We've come to hold your hand.
War ain't no place for a woman. It's really a masculine game. So when some females move in, it's simply not the same. Just when the fun is starting, you come with your ribbons and curls. Our only needs to do great deeds and not be hobbled but utterly free from a gaggle of twittering, tittering, whimpering, whimpering.
We landed in Turkey just as autumn gave way to winter. My final choice of nurses were a mixed brigade requiring much drilling. Some experienced, some less so. Some happy just to be paid. Some there out of pure charity and love of God.
Follow me. Step lively. Mind where you put your feet.
We had expected chaos, but nothing had prepared us for those barracks at Scutari. Here, just across a narrow strip of water from Constantinople, the British High Command had established the nearest thing I'd ever seen to hell on earth. It was, in fact, the main hospital for receiving the casualties from the Crimea. It was there I met Sir John Hall, Chief Medical Officer for the British Army in the East.
No chloroform for the lower ranks, Mr. Davis. Let us hear the man bawl lustily. At least then we'll know he's still alive. Fine, carry on.
Sir?
Ah, Miss Nightingale. I'd heard you were coming.
And from what I've seen so far, not a moment too soon.
Maybe so, and maybe not. As I read the instructions from your friend, the Right Honourable Sidney Herbert, you are under the clear direction of the medical staff here. That means that neither you nor any of your ladies will do anything without the express written permission of a military doctor. In other words, Miss Nightingale, here in my hospital, you are in charge of nothing with the exception of your personal laundry. Am I clear?
But do let us know when you need help.
See to them.
Do we have to give them rations, sir?
Certainly not.
This way.
The quarters we were herded into were squalid and cramped, alive with vermin. The air heavy with the stench of fever and death.
Oh, so that's where he went. Been missing for a day or two. Sorry about that, ladies. We'll have it removed forthwith.
First, the strongest of you to the wash tubs. Everyone else, let us have those floors swept, the windows cleaned, that stove working. Where are the brooms?
Brooms? That's a joke.
Find brooms. If you can't find them, make them. That night, we went to bed in the dark. The next day, we cleaned out our new home, and then nothing. It was as if we had been sealed up in our dingy little corner, frozen out by Sir John Hall and his doctors, deliberately forgotten. Was this why we had traveled all across Europe? We knew how much we were needed, and we knew the difference we could make. This was the cruelest trial of all. To wait, to have to listen to the screams of the sick and dying, was almost past endurance. But I knew those gentlemen officers. They saw us as twittering society do-gooders in search of a fevered brow to mop or a manly hand to hold, as a brave soldier slipped off to his maker. Bless our dear little hearts. They certainly did not want some well-connected female nuisance giving instructions to their orderlies. But I'd grown up with ministers of the realm and titled bigwigs sitting at our dinner table. I knew the little games, I knew the rules, and I knew how to win. So, we waited.
big battle. Incoming. Casualties, they're coming in. A lot. Sir John says...
Ladies,
can you...
follow me. That was the moment of victory. We were liberated, set free to do what we had trained for and had come to do. But after victory comes counterattack, in the shape of a system seemingly designed to create confusion. The officials in charge of supplies, I soon discovered, were masters of red tape, experts in obfuscation and delay. I was clearly marked out as the enemy. I needed allies, and I knew of only two sources I could rely on. The good Lord, who never left me through all my trials, and his chief angel of mercy, my old friend, Sidney Herbert. Dear Mr. Herbert, the supply officers fix their attention on the correctness of their bookkeeping as the primary object of life. Last week we had run out of bread, soap, carrots, poultices, and many other necessities. I went to the supply officer and asked him, was he expecting these things from England? No, he said. Are you doing anything about purchasing them? No, he said. Can they be had in the local town? If they can, I don't know how to get them, was his answer. So, Mr. Herbert, I went out myself and I bought them with my own money. In short, I am now a general dealer in socks, shirts, knives and forks,
The
tin
meat
baths,
is not
cabbage and
cooked.
carrots.
The water is not boiled. The cooking is done by drunken soldiers.
I must refer again to the deficiency of knives and forks here. The men tear their food like animals. Will you send us 1,000 mops, 3,000 tin plates? I go about making the orderlies empty huge tubs of human waste. The mortality is frightful. 30 in the last 24 hours, and this was Christmas Day, 1854. The state of the troops who return here is frostbitten, starved, ragged. No wonder they die in their hundreds. No washing has been performed for the men, neither of body linen nor of bed linen, except by ourselves. The consequences of this are fever, cholera. I shall endure. I shall not break my heart of disappointment at the total inefficiency of the hospital system here. I shall bear it willingly. I was called to do this work, and I will fight on for God and for the right, for they are worth fighting for. I now see clearly what must be done. If these conditions are happening here, they are happening elsewhere. I have written a plan for the systematic reorganization of these hospitals. Please make sure, Mr. Herbert, that it reaches the highest levels of the government. I have more and more reason to believe that these hospitals are the kingdom of hell, but I fervently believe they can be made into the kingdom of heaven.
Get some sleep. I don't know how your body keeps going.
Why doesn't this silly thing...
Here, let me.
Thank you, Reverend Mother. And my body is strong. It's... my spirit. I get so discouraged. How could even Jesus not be? How did he persist?
He was the love of God incarnate. He could love the good even in the worst.
Could Jesus love Sir John Hall when he forbids the men chloroform?
If Sir John Hall sins, I believe the sacrifice of Jesus can redeem it.
Sometimes I think I expect too much from God.
Well, he is God Almighty, Florence, and not your private secretary.
I suppose not. If he were, I'd say send more bedpans, Lord.
Can't get around it, Florence. God is in charge, not you.
Time for rounds.
They love you, you know.